Well, welcome everyone to Women on Wealth. And in honor of Women's History Month and in honor of International Women's Day, which is on March 8th, I'm really excited to have this discussion today around embracing my career safari. And I can't do this without Wamita Muthara. So, welcome and thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
Yes, no, I'm
Yeah.
so excited. And just really quickly on who you are, and then I know you're going to talk about your background.
hmm
You are the founder of Career Safari, which is a platform for women to begin having a healthier relationship with their careers. We could talk about this more often, right? You have a community of thousands on Facebook, your podcast, your
Yeah.
website, where you're providing a space for women seeking a more global perspective and dialogue on what it means to be an entrepreneur and a career woman. And we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and having a really strong, healthy career, but I don't think we talk about it from a global perspective enough
Mm.
like you are proposing. So I'm really excited about this.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I don't know, for some reason today, you saying that is like, oh, wow, I've come a long way. So thank you.
Ah, well, I think you have. I know you founded Career Safari 6 years ago.
Yes.
And I know you've had other aspects of your career as well along the way. So can you talk, because you clearly have a background that plays a strong role in why you created this. So if you could talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. And I can't even believe we're about to hit the 6 year anniversary of it. Because I literally remember when I finally crystallized the idea for it. But I'll start with this. I knew that I was like, I say that I'm like, and I believe your like career has 4 quarters. I think I'm in my second quarter. I don't think I'm pretty much in my second quarter squarely right now. But I
Yeah.
would say that there was a point that was coming and when I was starting to get the itch to do something on my own. I spent a lot of time in international development NGO work. And it just kind of slowly crept up on me. Like, I want to do something on my own. I don't want to just have to like do things that are aligned to a certain brand and I have to do a certain way and I have to have the type of personality. But I didn't know what that was until I reached a point in my career where I say I had a career identity crisis
Mm.
and I knew I didn't want to do international development anymore. I had an itch to get into the tech world now. And I'm like, who the heck can do that career without taking a huge sacrifice or make that shift? And I just really kind of just didn't know what to do. And it was the conversations that I was having with women from around the world that really empowered me to think more creatively and expansively about the potential of my ideas and really about my career. And I mean, I was lucky to have that experience because of the international development work. And I would come back home and I would always be telling friends like, "Oh my goodness, I talked to this like minister of government. I talked to this, uh, Fortune regional leader. I was talking to, this person who's developing this like healthcare center in their community. And I would have all these amazing stories of women that I was like slowly collecting.
Yep.
And I really to this day cannot tell you what was the event that made me say this, it just all came together at once
Mm.
very rapidly to do Career Safari.
Okay.
And then the question was, how am I going to do it? Am I
Right.
going to do it on my own? Podcasting was like barely a thing then.
Yes.
I think the serial podcast like came out maybe a couple years prior to that. So I had all questions about how I was going to do it. And then, talking about 6 years later that I've been able to do it, it's evolved from a blog to a podcast to a community to me like helping companies. It's just a very, very interesting space to be in, but I'm happy to be in it.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for women that are looking to be entrepreneurs to hear over and over again, you have to start from scratch. And so it's your story is no different than anyone else from that. You started from just a vision and I guess as you said, this identity crisis, right?
Mhm.
And how long were you in your other career before you?
I was in the international development space for about 13, 14 years, and then I've been in tech since then. So what is that, like 6 years now I've been in tech?
Okay.
And then during that transition is when Career Safari was started.
Okay. So you didn't just quit your job and then create Career Safari. Yeah.
No, I like nice things.
Yeah.
I know this is Women on Wealth, so I mean, I'm not saying I'm swimming in nice things, but that was part of like the decision I needed to make. How do I do all of these things without like completely like destroying my finances or
Absolutely.
having to restart and get a whole new $100,000 education? Like that was part of the discourse in my head
Yeah.
around how do I do all of this? And so no, I did not. I'd have taken time twice, to be very honest with you, to
Okay.
build Career Safari, where I did not have a job and I was fortunate enough to be able to maintain a lifestyle.
Sure.
Um, and so there's always a question in the back of my mind, like, is this the time for me to solely focus on Career Safari? I just finished having one of those periods of my life right now, literally like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it was a tough decision, but I made the decision to go back to full-time work, but I feel like it's worth it.
Right. Okay. No, thank you. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that more later, but when you started Career Safari, what did you think you would find? And what were the surprises along the way?
I never intended on having a platform on my own in this way. Like I did not even like to this day, I don't really want to be the face of it, but it's just the nature of the beast.
Hmm.
Um, I would say my original plan was I was trying to find someone to partner with. I wanted to like be a guest feature on like I guess like a Huffington Post or another like blog piece, and I would just run a monthly feature called Career Safari. That was my intention. Like I was like I did not have the energy to start my own website, to do the social media followings, and then I just as I started doing the research on like how many like career websites are out there focused on women, focused on diversity. Not just, I'm
Hmm.
not talking about black or white, I'm talking about ethnically, globally,
Yeah.
diversity. I did a lot of research and I didn't really find any that I connected with. Or when I tried to submit my entry to be a guest feature, it was just so much red tape. And I was like, this is weird. And I'm like, what's the point? My
Okay.
friend kind of is a brand expert, not kind of, she is a brand expert. And she said, you should just do this on your own. Stop being
Yeah.
lazy. And so I did it. And so what I learned is obviously a little bit more about like what's out there in terms of like career resources for women.
Hmm.
And then I learned like how to slowly develop your space in the media industry. So
Okay.
it's like I said, it started as a blog, but it started as a blog on Medium. And then I focused on my social media presence. And then I don't know crap about social media because I don't like really being public facing. So I learned more about social media. And that's when the attention started coming because I'm like, oh no, people are reaching out to me, asking me questions about like, what can Career Safari do for them? And I'm like, well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And then I started coming up with more ideas about what Career Safari could do for them. But I realized, dang, I need a website to house all this stuff. So I spent some time buckling down and building a website. And then it became, this actually will be more impactful if I actually turn it into a podcast. So I spent some time during one of those career breaks building it into it and marketing it as a podcast. And that has
Okay.
taken it to another level.
That's
So I would
amazing.
say like I evolved along the way
And you had to pivot.
and I'm still pivoting.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess for someone for a woman to come to Career Safari and to be and then to embrace the community, how do you think they would respond to what they get out of it?
Yeah, and this is an area where I had a vision, and I'll be candid. It's like one of those things where the vision doesn't just work out.
Mhm.
I want to partner with someone that is building an amazing online community because I have like women that are ready to go. They are in the newsletters. I'm featuring them. They're on my social media, and they want a space to interact more. But that is not where career stuff like that's I've learned like that's not going to be
Mhm.
exactly what I am. So that's like my long-term goal for like individuals in the community. But what they get out of it is that we're actually doing in the way like member things. So we have the Torchbearers that I feature on the podcast, they come in as subject matter experts so they can lead sessions around things. And I've done that a few times. We've done a few like health and wellness sessions as well. We try to feature those on Instagram for people who are not necessarily a part of the community. So those are the ways that we've been trying to engage. And as Torchbearers have events, we connect people to that as well.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about the Torchbearers?
Yay. Yes, the torchbearers are actually originally it's the community. I
Mhm.
mean, sorry, originally it's the women that I feature. So those are people that
Okay.
are spotlighted on Career Safari, but then the community itself is now the torchbearer community, and those are the people that follow along and support it.
That's great. And can you talk a little bit about how you came up with My Career Safari as the name of the organization?
I have a girlfriend of mine, and my family's from Kenya, so the safari is Swahili for journey.
Okay.
And so it's not like the animals and all that, even that is also a meaning of it. But so it's literally career journey. And quite honestly, your career and your career journey does feel like an animal safari. Like
Yes.
crap is just coming at you one day, you're it's rain and dough on you. The next day it's like a drought and
Yeah.
you're under attack one day, and the next day you are like attacking, and it can feel like a safari. So it's a bit of a spin on words, but I casually amongst like a couple girlfriends of mine, when we would sit there and like we talk about and catch up on life, we would be like, that's just my safari. Like
Yeah.
that's
I love it.
I'm
I
just
love
on
it.
it.
Yeah. Well, I think it fits. I think it fits beautifully. And I know that so women that are coming to the community are clearly looking for assistance in one way or other. Are you finding and women we know love being in women communities. And what I love about yours so specifically is that it is so global and so diversified. So can you talk about, are there commonalities that come to mind about what women are looking for specifically when they come to you?
Yeah, and thank you for emphasizing the global diversity of the community, because it's true. Like top listeners are coming from name like different parts of the world, from obviously the United States, obviously from Africa, Mexico with a large audience. We
Oh,
have a
cool.
large like there it's very cool. And Philippines is a large audience. It's really interesting the
Yeah.
people who have gravitated to it, and seeing the global appeal of it. Um, and so I would say there are a couple things in the number, and what we're focusing on is like the inspirational aspect, because your career can feel quite isolating, as there's global statistics out there, like literally half of the global workforce is women. And we're seeing
Amazing.
that number like grow in some countries as well. The number of women that are graduating college is growing, and so there's more and more women out there in the workforce,
Mhm.
but it still feels very isolating for us.
Yes, more need for community.
There's more need for community, there's more need for belonging. So, what it does, number one, is provide inspiration, because it's my job, similar to yours, is to find very cool stories of awesome and amazing women out there that are doing things that can inspire people in places that they don't even recognize. So that's my job, and I love to facilitate that conversation. Um, so I'll say the first thing they want is inspiration. The second thing they want are just tips. And I don't say that in a way to be, I guess, make it sound so simple.
Hmm.
I think there's an art for sharing good information. Well, like it's the balance of it's infotainment is basically what I'm trying to say. Like it's a balance of providing it in a way that they understand, but also making sure it's not just like fluff, like believe in yourself, you know?
Yes.
So I've
There's
learned,
enough of that out there.
yeah, I've learned over the years like how to like I think about a particular person when I'm interviewing, and I'm like, I need to do this interview that this person can grasp it. So
Mhm.
I might pick a part in the world, I might pick maybe think people I know, and I'm like, what would this person want to know? Because I know that this person would love this story.
Yeah.
And so I try to like channel my questions around that.
Okay. No, I think that's fantastic. And admittedly, I was not aware of your podcast before I met you, and I need to spend more time on it. But what I've gathered so far is you are interviewing these torchbearers, correct?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of them that really shine to you about why you're doing this? I mean, there's some amazing
Um,
stories when I scroll through it.
yeah, yeah,
We
they
don't have all
are.
day, I know.
No, no, no. I'm narrowing. So I just posted, or we just posted this on LinkedIn. Emily Citrian, I featured her November 2022. And at the time of me interviewing her, she was working for Stripe, which is a very large financial technology company. She was kicking butt there. And I can say all this because it's all public. She got laid off after our interview. But she was already publishing a book about being a millennial manager. Now she has started her own business. She's now founder of her own business consulting firm that helps financial technology companies. And I'm seeing her evolution, and I'm like, oh my God, this amazing. Like, this
Yeah.
is just amazing.
And
And
and she's in the US.
she's in the US. She's based in Chicago.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories is Rosette. I talk about Rosette a lot. She's based in the Philippines. She was one of my early torchbearers from the first like round of women that were on the Medium blog. And her story was about she was a factory worker, and then she went from that to being like a home worker in somebody's home,
Okay.
cleaning up, cleaning out the house and providing those type of services to being a hotel manager, and going back to school. So her story, you know, she talks about the sacrifices she made for not getting an education to pay for her brother's education.
Oh,
So those stories I love to find. So like those are a couple I can spend like to give you more, but there
yeah.
are definitely, it's not just like I see them and I share about them at a point in time, but just seeing their evolution after that is something that is also beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to some of those, and I would encourage anyone that's listening if you want these amazing stories. What is the name of the podcast?
Career Safari.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say it and just, encourage that as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the financial evolution of your career. You talked about it a little bit, but can you share a little bit more because there are so many women that think about being entrepreneurs, and of course, one of the big hurdles is where do I start financially? How do I? And you talked about, you might have to continue with your job as you start the journey, but what else can you share?
Yeah, and I mean this is why what you do for a living and the fact that you run this podcast is important because
Thanks.
I didn't grow up having conversations about money in my, I mean, like you can, no, I can't have that money for this. Like, I mean, that was like the nature of it.
Yeah, very
So,
common, right?
yeah, but over the years, I've actually learned how financially savvy my mother is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how come you didn't tell me this? Why am I learning it now? So, um, I would say like the financial evolution. I did not come into Career Safari trying to make money. I was perfectly fine with it being a hobby. But then as friends reached out to me saying, "Hey, I think you could actually speak at this event. I think you could come to this conference." And I realized, oh, there's money behind all of this. That's when I became a little bit more like professional about it.
Okay.
And
And
I
what
think
and what types of events and conferences were they? Sorry.
so they're like entrepreneur conferences, they're women empowerment conferences, there's technology conferences. So I can hit a
Oh,
few different things because of my background. Like I said,
yeah.
I have a background in international development, I have a background in tech, I have a background in professional development and leadership development as well. And now I have a background in like environmental technology. So part of it is just like the topic of women empowerment and women entrepreneurship and leadership development cuts across all of these industries.
Yes.
So the fact that I can speak specifically to how it affects those industries is just a
Mm.
bonus.
You were able to kind of marry together your previous experience.
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing.
And the fact that my collegial background is in media is
Okay.
just another bonus.
There you go.
Just saying, like, do not discount any of your experiences because I would not know how these all would have come together the way it is now.
Yeah,
So,
great
going
point.
back to your original question about financially, the first thing I had to do was I had to set a budget for it and I had to keep within that budget. The second thing I had to do was make more money, flat out. And I didn't make more money because of Career Safari. I
Yeah.
made more money because I had to take a hard look at my finances and my goals and say, there's no way I can accomplish what I want to accomplish making this much money. although I'm doing fantastic work, I'm probably making more money than a lot of people. This just doesn't work for me. So
Mhm.
I had to find a way to figure out what I'm good at, study a little bit more, and then pivot into a career path that was more that had, gave me more financial benefits.
Okay.
So that also provides air cover for Career Safari. As I make more money, it is able to become more professional. I would say, and through that, spend a little bit more money, make a little bit more money. Through that, as I become more professional, I've been able to get featured more because I'm able to refine my brand. I'm able to talk to a PR rep. I'm able to do all these things. And people can see it becoming more professional and they respect it more. And they come and approach me for speaking engagements and to do work for them.
That's great. And I have to say this, I don't know if you said this on purpose the way you did, but you talk about making more money, which is usually what most women entrepreneurs start with. You said budget first. You prioritize that over making more money, which most don't. So and that's near and dear to my heart. So is there anything that maybe you could any color that you could give us around how you budgeted?
Specifically for a career safari?
Correct.
Yeah,
Or I guess
I
at the time maybe as you're trying to balance your job, a new career possibly you don't know and
mhm.
still live the life that you want, right? This is what everyone's trying to do.
Yeah, and I made a decision to become debt free all during this time.
Amazing. Yep.
Um,
Which most people
so
can't do.
listen, it's not easy, but the financial benefit in the long run is amazing.
Yes.
And again, I still have struggle and pain, but don't.
It
It's
never
not,
goes away,
it
right?
never goes away, but it's just a
Yeah.
different struggle and pain.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say like Career Safari, I categorize that as an investment.
Okay.
Uh, and so therefore, like it's an investment into my career, it's an investment into my happiness. So I don't see it as like debt. I see it as this is me paying money forward because when I didn't have any job, what brought me some money? Career Safari.
Yep.
Even though it didn't offset my entire income, it
Yes.
did provide me air cover. So this is an investment. And then it's also a place that brings me joy. And I just I can either so letting it go is not an option. How much money I spend on it is an option. So I decided I needed to invest. I have to decide like where is this budget going to go to? I have, let's say, $150 I can spend on this a month. What does it what's the most important things that it can go to?
Mhm.
The website, the email, and then I became very clear that I needed an editor
Hmm.
because there was no way the episodes could come out frequently without me getting an editor because I can't do social media and editing and all this stuff at once. So I realized
Tell me about it.
a good chunk of your budget needs to go to finding an editor,
Okay.
and I was lucky enough to find one. And I did I checked like the Facebook groups, interviewed a couple people, and Yamini has been amazing to me. That is not her budget. Do not reach out to her and say $100. It's not. More than that. But
Yeah.
that's just an example.
Okay.
So basically I'm able to I've broken down like what takes up my time in the podcast and in the work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there an automated way that I can do that? And with the technology, there is like ChatGPT can help write a post. You could automate your posting on social media. The editing is something I want someone manually to do. So that's where the budget's going to go to. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a way I've done it, if
Got it.
that's helpful.
It absolutely helpful. I mean, I think the message here that I'm hearing is you prioritized it and you bucketed it. And I also think I heard that you separated debt, which you also addressed at the time, completely in a different bucket than Career Safari, which was an investment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That as simple as it sounds, I think it's incredibly important to emphasize that. And then the last thing I'll mention around the financial aspect is you had mentioned to me when we first met that you hired a financial advisor,
Yes.
which I also love because I do believe that so many entrepreneurs are so focused on the growth of this business, this is their baby, that they don't take care of themselves enough emotionally, physically, financially, and they put it on the back burner. If you could talk a little bit about that decision as well.
Yeah. One, what came first was my desire to be debt free. And it kind of kicked me one day, like, you are gonna have a family one day. I don't want to carry this. I
Yeah.
don't want to carry this. And
Yeah.
I've never been like financially super irresponsible, to be very honest with you. But more reason why like I need to take care of it. And then I used the pandemic, that time where couldn't go out and see family, friends, and it was just like me and like a partner.
Yeah.
Um, I use that time to up my financial literacy. I took
Okay.
financial literacy classes that really taught me how to understand my 401k better, that helped me understand like savings accounts more, where to put my money in the bonds. Like I had general knowledge of it, but I really didn't sit down and like think about what is my 5-year financial like strategy.
Yeah.
Like how much money do I want to make? What do I want to use the money for? Like I didn't do any of that. So I
Okay.
used the pandemic to really up my financial and investment literacy.
Oh, wow.
And I also became less intimidated by looking at my bank account. So the great thing
Hmm.
about being debt free or fighting and paying attention to where you're spending your money is that you have to, and I know everyone has felt this at one point, scared to log on and look at your credit card statement, scared to log on, look at your bank statement and all that stuff. I
Sure.
became very comfortable at just dealing with looking at the number and dealing with it. And it can be terrifying.
Of course. I love that.
And so once I got to the point where I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
the debt's getting paid off. Like I can see the light of day. I can see I'm about to make a little bit more money. I can see Career Safari going. I'm like, I'm getting to a place where I need an expert. And I can have a conversation with them where I feel like I know enough that I don't feel like I'm getting swindled.
Hmm.
And they can provide value to me as well. And she absolutely has. I was lucky to have a friend recommend her. And I go to her a couple times a year because I don't need a lot of support.
Mhm.
I ain't making that much money.
Yeah.
I talk to her a couple times a year. She provides me guidance. I have my questions for her,
Mhm.
and we look at my money, we look at my like dreams, and I cry, and we figure out the plan.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I mean, that you took ownership and then you decided to find a financial partner, coach, whatever you want to call them. So that's fantastic.
And I want to say, I hope that I'm not making this sound not tangible. This is completely like I said, I am no way like making a ultra amount of money. I'm squarely middle class. Uh,
But
but it's possible.
and you are confident where you are and your journey, not only financially for your personal, I mean, obviously you're an entrepreneur and they kind of fold together, but you're confident about the journey in both directions
Yes.
as they come
And
together.
oh, don't make me cry. I
Oh,
am. I
I,
am. It's
holy
been
cow.
a
I don't know if I've ever made anyone cry on this.
I'm very like I'm that woman. I would be the one, just because it's been a very tumultuous journey. And when you don't know why, like, why am I spending this money doing this? Like, that money could be going to like something else. Or is anybody even listening to this podcast? Or why am I even trying to look like these job interviews suck? I don't want to work for a job again. I will never find a job that makes me like all of those feelings are real. And some of those feelings I had just 3 months ago.
It's so true, and I appreciate you sharing that because it's an emotional roller coaster.
It
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
is. But this is a moment where I'm reminded of
Yeah. So
like the
let well
benefits.
let's talk a little bit more about the positive side then, because you are talk about your leadership and what you're
Oh.
doing there. Because you mentioned earlier there's a lot of different directions you've gone in with some of the speaking engagements, but can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I would say that like I'll first say the big question I had to ask myself is in my friends who helped me through this business is like, where do you want to take Career Safari? Do you want it to be the best podcast in the world? Do you want it to be the best career website in the world? Like, but that is a question I had to toil with a lot last year. And I got the answer, which then speaks to my leadership. I want Career Safari to be the place where I tell amazing, globally diverse career stories through different types of medium, the podcast being one of them. I have ideas for other things. So, all that to say, my leadership starts with one being showing love to people. Like, this is like, I genuinely like people. And I want to make sure as I interact with people as an entrepreneur, as an employee, as a leader in a company, whatever it may be, as a client and stakeholder relationship, whatever it might be, I want to make sure that I am helping them accomplish their goals because I'm engaging with you because I'm trying to accomplish mine.
Sure. Yeah. You created it because you understand the journey they're trying to go through.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
identifying that is important for me as a leader. Like, why are you here? Why are we talking to each other? What brought you to this company? What brought you to Career Safari? And if they don't know, then working them through that exercise is important to me.
Okay.
The second thing, as I learned as a leader, is to listen. And that's hard to do because I am an ENTJ Myers-Briggs. So I can get to action quite quickly.
Okay.
And there's benefit to that. But I've had to learn because there's balance in what you can, what your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah.
I've had to do a lot more listening and research because although I think I know what an issue can be,
Mhm.
while I think I know someone's approaching me because of like, oh, I know this pattern, that they're just unhappy at their job. It
Yeah.
can be a host of other things. So I need to listen and pay attention more and don't be so fast to move to action. So
Okay.
that's something that I had to learn and grow through myself.
Okay.
Um, do you want another or you want me to stop there?
No, yeah, good. Give me one more.
Okay. I would say the second piece, and this might be like one of the more important ones, is I took myself to therapy. And everybody brings their trauma to the workplace. Everybody. And if you look, you can see, you can look closely. You're like, ah, there it is. And how they run their teams and how they run their like work relationships and how they abandon their personal life like in order to succeed at work. Like people bring their trauma to the workplace
Mhm.
and you don't want to project that onto anybody.
That's a
And
challenge.
it's not, and it helps honestly as you understand your stuff to help unpack your team's EQ as well.
Okay.
And also not take things personally. So if you're gonna lay me off, bye. Okay. Or if you don't want to promote me, okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Or maybe I'm not okay and I have to leave. But the point is like I don't
Yeah.
it's very hard not to take things personally in the workplace, but it's honestly the place probably where you have to take it the least personal because it's such a game and it's so much not what real life is about.
And it's amazing how much of our emotions are wrapped around what we do for
Yeah.
a living, right?
Yeah.
It's thank you for sharing that. And so your leadership then, are you leading with businesses that are hiring you or is it individuals? Can you talk a little bit about that structure?
Yeah. So specifically in Career Safari, it's contracted work.
Mhm. Okay.
So they're approaching and for like a project in itself, and I'm doing contracting work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly successful with all the different businesses that you mentioned earlier that you've been working with. So,
Yeah. It's
okay.
it's it's fun. And then obviously in the my full-time role now, there's different stuff going on there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for individuals, then the benefit of Career Safari is really more the community of global women and their journeys, the stories, and really just embracing that you're not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, you're not alone. And I would say, and more like we're providing like actual real workshops and stuff for you to actually meet and learn in as well. So
Okay.
learning opportunities.
And what types of workshops have they been?
Oh, I did one recently on like basically it's leadership development was the last one that I did, and that was in December.
Okay.
We recently, and then prior to that, we did one on health and wellness. So I had someone come in and do like a meditation.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to plan for this year. I have one that I want to do on AI and
Mm,
understanding how to work in the artificial intelligence space.
hot
And
topic.
that is a hot topic, and also looking at marketing as well.
Okay. That's great. Well, congratulations on all of this. It sounds fantastic. And I think again, you are explaining that this is a difficult journey and an emotional one, and it doesn't go in a straight path. But yet you have to be committed and, and have a plan.
Yeah, and you have to like it. You have to
And
love
you
it.
have to like, yeah, fair point. Well, where can everyone, I know you're all over social media and I'm jealous about that. I've got to figure that one out more myself. But where can people find you?
www.thecareersafari.com. You could also follow it on, you said all the social media from LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X.
Okay. Facebook, Twitter, X. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your insight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was so fun to be here, Julina. Thank you for everything you're doing and keep making us smarter.